you're taxing this guy so much, it's taking away from his employees, and they're not going to be able to afford things, and then they're going to get taxed on top of that as well, just because that's their paycheck, unless they're contractors getting paying their workers under the table.
Yeah. In California, and they're all Mexican. Okay, there you go.
But yeah, I mean that's a difficult question. I can't just come up with an answer off the top of my head.
No, you can't.
Much. And
that's
the only thing I said is it should be tailored to each person's specific.
Should there be a top end limit? Should there be? Okay, I understand, because see, I've got sound bites of Barack Obama saying that there come a point that you've made enough money and you shouldn't have any more. Okay, and I think that is contrary to the American thought process and way of life of anything in the world. Now, he says that because his ideology is socialistic. But now, I feel like if I make $1 million this year, that I should pay more in taxes because I made more. Irregardless of whether that $1 million I made was, I have a factory over here that employs 100 people, and that $1 million was after my $3 million of payroll for these people that work for me. Well, after I pay for their benefits and their salaries and the physical facility and the raw materials, all that stuff, I all pay for it. And I still made $1 million over here. The far left, and when I talk about the liberals, I'm talking mostly about the far left. Mm-hmm. And the union leaders are far left. And there's a lot of these old Democrats in the House and Senate right now, far left. They got rid of, a rhino is Republican in name only. Well, they got the equivalent of it in the Democratic Party. I forgot what they call them now. But they, these guys, Ditto. These guys believed in Barack Obama. They voted for everything he said to do, and they got shellacked, and they're out. And his response was, well, that's politics. Oh, I wouldn't be for anything he said at that personally. But, they believe that, not those moderate Democrats. I'm talking about this far left. They believe you should take all the way up to 100%. Now, I don't know what's right, but I know the answer to that question is different depending on whether you made $10,000 last year or $10 million last year. Yeah. If you made $10,000, then some bucks ought to be paying everything they got into the system, because you're getting a lot out of the system, and get every dollar you can out of it. I guess if they're going to pay it, might as well get all you can. But what's the limit? Where do you stop on somebody? And I don't know the answer to that question.
And, if I had that much money, I wouldn't mind paying the taxes into the system that gave me the opportunity to earn money and earn a living and make a prosperous life for myself. Sure. But should they be taking all of it and be topping it out to all? No, not at all.
Well, see, here's the interesting thing. O'Reilly had this nice lady on there that has this organization, and the organization's made up of billionaires. And what the organization does is says they're willing to pay more taxes. And that was very interesting.
Isn't it, I thought Bill Gates or somebody started this organization.
Bill Gates is in it.
I know they're in it, but I thought one of them started it, and they're getting to go around to all their buddies and asking.
There was 11 or 12 of them that got it going. And
Zuckerberg was when they were just Facebook guy. He just wanted to do something with it, too. Nerds Anonymous for the money. Okay, it was interesting to me. It was that whole show was interesting, and listening to her answers were interesting, because she was just as clueless as a turd in a whirlwind about anything. Okay? She just, legitimate questions were asked of her,
and she had no clue how to answer them because she took a script that these guys put together. Mm-hmm. Now, yeah, football is an and when you start looking, so I started doing some research into it, and what I found was more and more interesting. Some days I really do have to work to make a living to pay the overhead. But I started reading and doing some research. The first thing that comes to mind is that me and you cannot relate to this subject unless we read about it because we don't have that kind of money, never have, probably never will. First of all, these guys pay out more than you will make in your lifetime a year to have attorneys and CPAs that will keep them from paying taxes. Bottom line, I've done enough financial planning over my 38 years of distinguished service to know that when you get down to the bottom line, you got to do something, okay? What do these guys do to avoid taxes? What did Bill Gates do to avoid taxes? Is Bill Gates a good guy? Is he a philanthropist? Gosh, I got that out there. Does he like giving away money? I think a part of him does. But don't believe in all that altruism because the fact of the matter is that he put that money together and gave it away because it was advantageous to him. And all of them are that way. Ted Turner's that way.
Well, they didn't get to be billionaires by not knowing how to deal with their own money.
That's right. Yeah. See, you got the answer. So we started looking, and all the things we found out is that these guys, this is the biggest ruse that you could possibly look at. And there was one little question asked of this lady that just befuddled her. You got to quit yawning, Lord. It's not that bad.
I'm still in California time, right?
Yeah. That sounded good. It befuddled her. And what she said, what the question was this. The Internal Revenue has a section that will allow any citizen who wants to make out a check and send it to them and they'll accept it. Do you know that? If they believe in it so big, why don't they sit down with the cameras on them and write out a check? She could figure that one out. So, there's so many things to understand. Let's get to your question because we're kind of bouncing around it. But let's get to your question. Your question to me was?
What do you fix first? What takes precedent over everything else that will allow you to go at least start on the right path, to getting things where they should be?
Okay. Let me turn the question around and ask it to you in a different way so that we're not dealing with the world economy or the country's economy. Let's assume, God forbid, you're married and you got 2 or 3 little rugrats running around. One of them's your wife. And you got 2 cars that you're paying on and you've got the house note. And you make $55,000 a year. Your wife makes $20,000. So between 2 of you make $80,000 a year and you're just barely getting by. Not because you've got a house that's the biggest in the neighborhood or any of that. Not because your kids go to private school or anything like that. You just, by the time you pay your taxes, because you're in that little window, prime guy that can't afford to pay what they want you to pay. So you're getting taxed. You're not getting it all back. You're not getting a lot of tax credits. And so the president gets cap and trade passed. And by his own words, through necessity, electric bills quadruple. Now you're barely making it. And now because your electric bill, your water bill, your taxes on your land because the city's running out of money, all of a sudden you're running on a real, not funny accounting like the government. You're on real-time money. You're $10,000 down a year, $800 a month you're making less than what your bills are. What do you do?
Let's see.
Good question.
Where's the closest liquor store?
Yeah. You keep your liquor money in the budget, okay?
You just liquidate it all and go to Vegas and put it all on black.
I put it all on black, or put it on 47 and, get the odds up for you. No, I understand. This is the same question. This is the question that conservatives and liberals are fighting over because the extreme left doesn't want to answer this question. Okay? My answer to the question is the first answer on our question here about your home budget being down $800 a month when you're making $80,000 a year. The first thing you've got to do is you've got to look at your budget and you've got to say to yourself, what can I cut out and still be able to maintain this family? Okay? So you got, first thing you realize is you could cut your heating costs by $100 a month if you go out there and cut some of them trees down and chop them up and have firewood, and you really and truly could firewood. Okay, so
you're going to get long sleeve clothes and then
cut it
down. Just made a little chilly in the house.
Okay, yeah. So and which would make your kids happy. You only take baths once a week on Saturday night, going back to an old tradition, right? You cut those
nice and thin because you don't eat all the time. You eat every couple of days.
Yeah,
that way you don't have to worry about them getting obese. You don't have to worry about paying for all the health.
And Michelle Obama will be happy with you. Of course, her big ass is not going to cut down on any eating, but that's beside the point. So you cut all the little things out that you can like that, and you're still $500 underwater. Now you've got to start talking about the big items. Now what do you do?
Sell your car, get one that barely runs. If that was not already what you had in the first place.
You sell your car, have the money to help pay emergency bills, and double up on one car and do what you have to do. See, my point is that if it's your personal budget, and you're lucky you don't have a bunch of little rugrats running around yet, you're going to go hit the item.
I might have just in other countries or somewhere. Yeah. I was able to get out of Dodge.
You're gonna hit the parts of your budget that will allow your family to still live and function, but it may cause a hardship on you, but you're still going to be able to function. Federal government has got to do the same thing. Now, a lot of people have made fun of Congressman Boehner because he's a real emotional guy and he cries. And to make fun of him, I mean, Schultz on MSNBC doesn't need to make fun of anybody considering he couldn't pronounce the word Cousteau. Okay, but he does. Bill Maher shouldn't make fun of anybody with the ravages of uneducation the boy has. But Boehner did a few things that the liberal part of the media and the politicians gave him a lot of crap for. He got rid of Princess Pelosi's private airplane that she has. There were a few little things that he did, and they didn't mount up to $8 million. Well, you had some of the Feingold's, liberals, and Deans and those guys